Hi, my name is Silva. My group consists of Baron Way, Michael Scott Greco, and Paul Mastrokostas, and we're going to analyze the philosophical values of Plato's Allegory.
Plato's Allegory of the Cave. Now, Plato's Allegory of the Cave provides a philosophical framework to perception lying within our minds. We all interpret objects and events in different ways.
Yeah.
This stems from our exposure to events surrounding us. The outside world is open to interpretation based on our past, and our past will forever remain as our principal view on life, and will continue to play a role in our decision making as we grow through the stages that everyone else lives.
What's going on, Paul? What kind of stages have you gone through in your time at Severian?
Well, at my time in Severian, my perception on the world around me, my friends, my family has changed dramatically.
All right, cool.
So how has your past affected your relations with this new quote-unquote family?
Well, I came from a small school setting where I only had about 16 kids in my class.
Whoa.
Now I'm in a junior class with how many kids?
A lot of kids.
A lot of kids.
Upwards of 250 to 300 kids.
So
now,
your perception, which was a lot smaller framework than this school, did it really prepare you for such a big family?
Well, my smaller framework really never made me realize the importance of creating and networking different types of friends who could always be there for me in times when I need help with academics.
Wow.
Or even athletics.
That's very insightful, Paul Mastrokostas.
Thank you, Adney.
So Baron, would you like to share your personal experience with us in regards to like how you perceive things or how you've been perceived?
Yes, MSG. Well, I come from a stereotypical Asian family.
Can you define what that is for us?
It's essentially immigrants from Asia, and they believe in the American dream where we work hard and we achieve success. So this has...
I can relate, Baron.
Thank you, Andy. This has somewhat negatively affected my perception on the rest of the world because I've been focusing so much on academics and working hard that I haven't really had enough time to focus on more trivial things, such as what's happening in New Jersey or
the world around us. I get you, Aaron.
Exactly, Paul.
The events of New Jersey do seem to conflict my thoughts. Something that I contemplate on a daily basis.
Well, how do you contemplate philosophy, Adnan? Just
in terms of philosophy,
like your perception on life, for example.
You see, I think that perspective is a major aspect in how you should live your life. Because as long as you be positive and as long as you change your perspective on any kind of situation, you're always going to be happy. And your happiness and your emotion towards something affects how you handle it, how you manage it, and how you live a happy life.
And now entering our group, apparently, Greg Randazzo. Would you like to add anything?
Guest appearance.
So I'd just like to bring something up. Baron talked about his own paradigm of reality. But I'd like to point out that if he's aware of this paradigm of reality, then he is liberated. Then from its then it's from its effects.
From its from its mental imprisonment. I kind of understand you. Greg,
when we see the light, when those prisoners in the cave see that there's a wider world outside of them, they are liberated from their mindset. Plato is talking about a paradigm shift in the way we see the world. He's talking about how our senses do not accurately depict reality, and reality, in fact, may be very different from what we seem. I mean, science tells us that most of everything is 99% empty space. The sensation of touch is just an illusion, and when light goes through our eyes, it's actually upside down. Our brain turns it right side up. So things are very different from how they actually appear to us.
So, Greg, just going off of your last point, you talk a lot about how liberation into reality is part of what makes us, well, people.
Yeah.
But doesn't that liberation into reality ultimately distract us and get us away from the truth, what Socrates was trying to get to in this allegory with Plato?
Well, in the allegory, at the end of the allegory, the prisoners are forcibly dragged out of the cave and brought to the edge of the cliff, where they are forced to confront reality. They are forced to confront the sun. And Plato tells us that first they look at the sun, then the moon, and then the stars, and then they get a full picture of reality. And those who experience that reality do not wish to go back. However, the people who are still in the cave, his fellow prisoners, are stuck in that mindset. They would kill anyone who dares to try to go outside to break that mindset, because they are so accustomed to their view of reality.
Baron?
In the same fashion as what Greg just described, despite me knowing what's out there and not in my bubble, I still tend to focus more on my academics because it means a lot to me and I've been accustomed to this way of life.
I'd like to bring out, there are also other limitations that people have that kind of restrict their view of reality. Racism, homophobia, sexism, differences in economic and socioeconomic class, etc. All these different variables affect how we are brought up in society, affects how we are, how society affects our decision making and how we view reality in turn. It's our perceptions of reality vary across culture and tradition and religion and all of this different stuff.
All right, so you talk about a lot of subjective ideas like socioeconomic class. The last prompt that we were really given asked us to address Plato's lesson from an objective standpoint. In my opinion, I don't think an objective standpoint works with all these subjective factors that you just mentioned. So do you feel like this lesson that Plato teaches us from the allegory can be applied objectively, or does it need to be applied based on situation?
Certainly, I don't think Plato is speaking in a solely objective frame of mind. I mean, this entire allegory was, a metaphor for reality. He didn't have any specific objective reality in mind when he was talking about this metaphor. This metaphor was meant to apply to as many subjective circumstances as possible, because I believe that Plato thought that this was an ultimate truth that ought to be revealed, and the best way to reveal it was through this metaphor.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
All right.
Yep.
That was fun.
That was beautiful, Greg.
Thank you, Adney.
Your insight really helped me visualize the setting and place me inside Plato's perspective. God bless.
All right. I think that's it. Anything else to close off?
Nope.
Well, I think we should all keep in mind that our upbringing and the way we view society is always going to be subjected to change, and as we continue to move on through life, we have to keep an open mind and not let our own personal restrictions on different events and different topics that are major points being displayed in our society affect us.
Yeah, like also when Greg brought up a lot of societal variables and he talked about perception and Baron talked about perspective, and we all kind of talked about an aspect of perspective. And I think, like, in reflection to what Baron was saying, we need to learn not to blur our focus and be more concentrated towards different areas like academics and athletics and extracurriculars, where we kind of lose on what's really important in our lives and how we should place certain things ahead of others, like family and the experience. And to reflect Baron's original oratory speech, it's about the journey and not the result. It's about the experience.
Right, but just to leave us off on one final question, how do we do any of that? Because we're all 16-year-old boys in high school. Part of what we do is fulfill social norms, and unfortunately, none of that's going to come until we all attend liberal arts college.
Mic drop.
Thank you.